Welcome to the Cat Protection Society Perfect Podcast, a podcast developed for cat-loving humans who want to ensure their cat has a happy, healthy, safe and enriched 9 lives, and to celebrate just how amazing cats are as companion animals. Welcome to the Perfect Podcast, brought to you by the Cat Protection Society of Victoria, where we share tips, insights and stories to help every cat and their humans thrive. I'm Rach, and today's episode is all about the adorable, energetic and sometimes mischievous world of kittens. If you've been thinking about welcoming a kitten into your home, or if you've already brought one home and are wondering how to get it right, this episode is just for you. Joining me are 2 experts who know kittens inside and out. Chloe, our CPS shelter second in charge, and Kate, who coordinates our incredible foster carers and has guided countless kittens on their journey to adoption. Together, they'll share essential tips for helping your new kitten thrive and fit seamlessly into your home. Thanks for joining us, Chloe and Kate. Kate, so for someone considering adopting a kitten, what are the most important things to prepare before they arrive?
So definitely. So I feel like the most important thing is to make sure that everyone in the family is on board with having a kitten and the responsibilities that do come with that. Next as well, you do want to make sure you have a safe, secure space for the kitten when you first bring them home, whether that's a laundry or a bathroom. We do recommend tiled floors as kittens. They can be a little bit cheeky and have some toileting accidents at the start. You want to make sure in that little room as well that you do have the litter tray. They know where that is, food, water, and of course plenty of toys and bedding for them. You also want to make sure if you do have other pets that you do have a way to keep them separate and do a slow introduction with scent swapping, letting them sniff under the door, and then eventually having that safe like baby gate or protection cover where they can kind of sniff and see each other but not get to each other. So you just really want to make sure that you have the right setup for them, all the equipment, food, toys, bedding, and you've got everyone on board with having a pet in the home.
Okay, fantastic. Chloe, so how can families decide whether they're ready for the time, energy and responsibility of raising a kitten?
I think by coming into the shelter physically and spending time with a kitten in one of our adoption meet and greet rooms, it's a great way to see the behaviour of a kitten, especially when they're out of their condo space, so you can see them in a bit more of an unnatural environment, which is probably what they're going to act like when you first bring them home. We encourage all adoptees to spend as much time with any cat that they're adopting before going ahead with the adoption. So I think having the entire family come through and spend time with the kitten, and we can obviously communicate anything that's important because they are full of energy and they require a lot of assistance. So just spending a lot of time with them in the shelter I think is necessary prior to adopting.
Now, we obviously have the retail side on store, but Chloe, what are some of the must-have supplies that often get overlooked when someone is considering adopting a kitten?
I think a lot of baby gates, but also just people not closing their doors and windows properly as well. I know they're kittens and they're really little, but they are escape artists. So if you're wanting to keep them in a certain area, having a baby gate is really beneficial. If you're introducing a kitten to another pet in the household, you can also get these mesh screen doors. So they're not physically meeting with one another, but it does provide that layer of protection. So I think there's some must-have supplies and just things to be a little bit observant of and careful when you're bringing a new pet into the household.
Okay, great. So let's have a chat about health and vet care. Kate, obviously kittens need a lot of early veterinary care, and some of that happens prior to them being made available for adoptions. But what is the typical schedule for vaccinations, desexing and checkups?
So every kitten that is adopted out through our shelter will be desexed, microchipped, worm and flea'd, and have at least their first vaccination. So depending on what age the kittens do come into our care, they'll have 2 to 3 vaccinations. So 1 every month for 3 months. And then after that, it'll go to their annual booster shot. So typically after adoptions, it will be up to you to get that booster shot, which will be on their vaccination card, their next due date, as well as keeping up with their worm and flea treatments. Also, if you do have any concerns of them being unwell or sick, that's when you should take them for a vet check typically 6 to 12 months, they would need to go back in for their annual booster and just regular health check as well. But yeah, definitely, if you do have concerns before then, it is always good to take your kitten in, as they are quite vulnerable at that age, and they can, obviously get into some mischief. So yeah, if they do hurt or injure themselves that way, you do definitely need to get them checked out.
Okay. All right, so Kate, you've obviously touched on it, but Chloe, I might direct over to you. What are some of the common health issues that new kitten owners should be aware of, and how can they spot them early?
I think the most common health issue is probably infections or issues after their desexing procedure. In terms of other issues, we see that in more some of our adult cats, but with kittens specifically, it's probably any signs of infection after desexing. So a lot of swelling, discharge, bleeding of their surgery site. Yep. So that's just something to monitor. We'll always inform adoptees when they were desexed. So normally it's a 2-week recovery period. So if you just keep them in a nice, quiet, small space, and if you notice any inflammation around their surgery site, then there's some signs to be aware of, and obviously take them to a vet as soon as possible if you do spot these signs.
I know as part of our adoption, we recommend that the kittens are fed the same food that they've been eating in the adoption shelter. Do you want to chat listeners through briefly why that is the case, and maybe what is the impact if owners potentially change that food too quickly?
It's due to the richness in certain foods. We feed all of our cats here Royal Canin, which is a veterinary prescribed food. So it's got the correct nutrients that are needed specifically for kittens. They're on a specific Royal Canin kitten food. So if you just go and quickly transition to supermarket food, which we refer to as cat junk food, it's going to be really sensitive for their stomachs, especially kittens. They're more susceptible to sensitivity and gut health issues when you're introducing really yucky foods that they don't need. So we recommend that they be kept on the same veterinary diet, at least for the transition period. If you are wanting to transition them onto another kitten food, kittens do specifically need kitten food. They're not allowed to have adult food. We just ask that you do it really slowly because it can upset their little tummies.
Okay, great. All right, Kate, as our foster care coordinator, how does fostering help prepare kittens for their forever home, and why is that experience so valuable?
Yeah, so a lot of the kittens that come into our care, they are from either strays or surrenders. So a lot of the times the kittens that do come in, they are quite timid. They do need that little bit of extra love and care. So sending them out to a foster home, it really does help build that confidence to then go home with a family, as well as if they're really little, they need to grow and gain weight so they can get desexed as well. So yeah, definitely having them in a home is a great way of seeing if they've got any behavioural quirks, toileting issues, what home would be better suited, whether they need an adult-only home, if they're really good with kids, maybe they'd be good with a dog. So it's all really important information in the process of getting adopted. So yeah, our foster care program is very beneficial in seeing how our kittens go.
Let's have a chat about behaviour and socialisation. So, Chloe, kittens are obviously known for their boundless energy. How can owners safely manage playtime and encourage positive behaviour?
Giving them as much playtime as possible is beneficial for their behaviour in the future. Sometimes we find with certain cats in the shelter when they're having sort of exhibiting a little bit of naughty behaviour, normally that stems from boredom and not having received enough attention in the past. So it's important for owners to give them as much playtime as possible, but to encourage positive behaviour, if they are play biting on your hand, I encourage owners to swap out your hand for a toy because they might grow up to think that it's acceptable to start biting hands. And just using a lot of different types of toys to provide stimulation because it's very important for kittens. They get bored very quickly, so we need to give them as much enrichment as possible through playing.
Socialisation is obviously really crucial at their young age. Kate, what tips do you have for helping kittens get used to people, other pets and household noises?
Yeah, so really just letting them go at their own pace. I think the worst mistake you can make is just forcing them into a situation they're unfamiliar with, and then that way they are going to create that negative association with it. So just setting them up in a quiet area where they can gradually get used to the hustle and bustle of the home, giving them positive reinforcement, whether it's treats or playtime, and obviously not just introducing them to another pet when they're not ready. That can create, quite a negative association and they're not going to bond as well. So yeah, just going at their own pace, using lots of positive reinforcement, and yeah, as to not overwhelm them as well.
So, Chloe, I know we spoke about it earlier. I have another question around how owners can handle some common challenges that they might face with their kittens, like biting, scratching, litter training. Is there anything, in addition to what we've spoken about earlier, that you would throw into the mix for new kitten owners?
I would definitely try and encourage owners to purchase as many different types of scratching posts as possible if you want to save your furniture. But specifically with biting and scratching with people, it's just a matter of replacing your hand with toys. So it gives them that positive reinforcement. But don't be afraid to say no as well. I think a lot of people are a little bit scared to communicate to their pets when they've done something naughty. So it's okay to say no. But specifically in terms of litter training, I think that's just something, a bit of trial and error action. So some cats like to defecate and urinate in separate litter trays. So providing them with more litter trays will definitely prevent any type of toileting issues, but you can obviously try different types of litters out there.
Okay. All right, well, let's have a chat. Life lessons from the shelter and foster care. Kate, so from your experience, what's the most important advice you give to people who are adopting their first kitten?
Yeah, so really it's just to make sure that everyone involved is on board with the responsibility, as well as that, a kitten's not going to stay a kitten forever. So just make sure that you're not just getting them because they're cute or obviously as a gift or a present. They are a lifetime commitment. So you could have them for the next 20 years. And just making sure that everything's set up ready for them to make the process as smooth and stress-free for them as possible.
Chloe, any surprises or lessons about kitten care that new owners often don't expect?
Maybe toileting issues. We have to remember that they're still babies and they are learning. So sometimes you might find little puddles of urine around the corners of your house. And that's okay. It's just about teaching the kitten to use the litter tray. So having everything set up in a nice, quiet space for them so they know that's where to go to do their business. Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people expect that with kittens. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so finally, Kate, if you could give our listeners one piece of advice, if they're at home thinking they might be ready to open up their heart and home to a kitten, what advice would you provide them?
Yeah, no, definitely just be prepared. Kittens, they're a bundle of energy, so just make sure you're prepared to have that in the home. But honestly, they give so much love and provide so much joy. So I think if you're, wanting to get someone that you can share your house with and, love, then it's definitely a good option.
Okay. Chloe? Running out, what do you think? What would be your final advice for our listeners? They're really keen on coming in and meeting some of the kittens. What advice would you give them?
It's like taking on a child. So just please make sure you have the time and energy for them and they will return the favour with all the love. So, yeah.
Amazing. Kate, Chloe, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chloe and Kate, for sharing your expertise and helping our listeners feel confident about bringing a new kitten into their home. For anyone thinking about adopting, fostering, or just learning more about kittens, our CPS team is always here to help guide you every step of the way. You can visit our adoption shelters 7 days a week or find some amazing resources and guidance on our website at www.catprotection.com.au. Thanks for tuning into the Perfect Podcast. Give your cat, or soon-to-be kitten, an extra cuddle from us, and we'll see you next time for more tips, tales and insights into the wonderful world of cats. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Cat Protection Society Perfect Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And we'd love if you can share this podcast with any friends, family or colleagues who all love things cats. In the meantime, you can visit our website at www.catprotection.com.au.